Hello, everybody. Today I have a fabulous guest, a well-known person in our industry, and I'm thrilled to have her on this particular podcast of Next Week's Life. Welcome, Kate Kingston of the Kingston Group.
Thank you. Anytime I get a chance to talk to you, Mike, it's a win for me. So,
Wow, thanks. I like that. I like that. We'll keep this in the
we'll keep that part in. Okay, great.
Yeah, we'll keep it in. So, Kate, it's great to see you. How have you been?
I've been so great. Thank you. Life is good. Work is good. I'm looking forward to ECS coming up in January. So, a lot of great things happening.
Good. And I take it you had a great summer.
I did. And I just spent a month in Jamaica. I prescribe that very heartily for anyone. I go down there and I work from there for a month and spend the late afternoons in the Caribbean Sea. So not a bad job if you can get it.
No, not at all. In fact, I'm going to Italy next week, but after that, I'm Jamaica on my list. So, Kate, welcome. And I mean that sincerely. You are well known in the industry for quite a long time. Tell us a little bit, though, about you, about Kate Kingston, before we talk more about the business side. So give us a little bit of your background, beginning with how'd you get in this crazy business?
So I came to New York City, 30 something years ago now, with a master's degree in theater, which trained me to be a waitress. So that's what I did mostly. But I got a job as a temp at a on-demand printing company. And I was just the receptionist for the day. And the president said, you could just be the receptionist full time. You sound great. And I said, no, maybe I can make appointments for you. And you don't have to pay me unless they happen. And I'm telling you, this is before appointment setters. This is a long time ago. And he was like, okay. And I literally got sat practically in a back closet and they gave me a Crane's book of lists. And I just said to myself, why would they want to meet with us? And I took that perspective of the customer instead of talking about the on-demand print company. And I started to make so many meetings that they started to sit the salespeople down. And from an actress mentality, I like to be clapped for. And people are like, this is so smart and good. So I really enjoyed that. And I realized maybe there was a hole in markets for prospecting help. And I just happened to go to a networking event global imaging was there, as many of the people were. And I said to them, hey, how do you make meetings? And it started the opportunity of me getting in front of a global president, Car Business Systems, here in New York City where I live. And so I spent my whole career in business technology prospecting. So that's sort of how I started. And it's really the perfect fit because it takes sort of that performance piece. And you can be funny if you can be funny, but you can also get to work. And it's been really fulfilling to me to help people make more money for their families, right? Which is what the commissions are in sales. So I felt purpose from it too.
So you grew up in New York City?
I'm from Annapolis, Maryland, originally. My father was head of chemistry at the Naval Academy for many, many years. So although he was almost deaf, so he couldn't be in the military, which was one of his things that he missed out in life that I know he would have loved. But we bled blue and gold, right? I even had to plan my wedding around a Navy home game. I just spent my whole life in Annapolis on that campus, and it was a wonderful place to grow up.
I think I would have loved your father.
Yeah, you would have. He was great.
Yeah, we had a lot in common. The Navy and hearing loss, not to mention you.
I might be selective hearing a little bit, so he can pick what he listened to, but he was able to be a professor the whole time. And I know he just loved being an educator, and it's kind of what I'm doing too.
So how did you go from, what was the next transition? So car and global.
So I was at that networking event. It was just a salesperson. And I'd been making meetings at this company called Brilliant Image, now part of C2 Media. And I was like, maybe if I got a whole bunch of people in a room, I could make more money than the individual calls. And so I said to the president of CAR at that time, listen, if I come and train your team, let me sit through your training on my dime. And if I don't get a 50% increase in your net new meetings for the team, you don't have to pay me. And I've continued to say that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I continue to be the only training company in our industry that gives a guarantee. And I just started making meetings, and I've just stayed in this one industry the whole time. And because of the success at CAR, Wilson Vega, who was president of Kinetic Business Systems, let me have a shot with his team. And then Dan Cooper, who continues to be not only a mentor, but somebody in my industry that I got reinvested in because of the consortium. And I'm now working with Novatech. At that time was sort of head of all of global. And he invited me to one of their meetings, one of their national meetings. And I wrote like 12 deals at that meeting after my speaking presentation. So I spent like a whole bunch of time working within global as an outside vendor. And it's a lot to learn, 60 different industries and how technology and cybersecurity and document management impacts all that. So it keeps me fully busy. And there's certainly enough work to go around. So I've tried to stay hyper focused and be great at one thing instead of maybe being a jack of all trades.
So, by the way, we have another thing in common too. You also trained my daughter, Jenna,
Yeah,
I believe at COTG. You set her on a
that's right. That's
pretty
right.
strong success path. So good for you. So, and good for her. Talk about coming into the business well equipped. So, a couple of other quick things. So, you just mentioned probably a few VIPs of the who's list in our industry, Dan Cooper and the others. And you're continuing to operate and manage those clients. I want to make sure we're clear for everyone. They're still your clients and you're growing with them.
Yeah, I'll tell you something interesting that's changed my work habits because of Doug Patassi from POA, who I'm working with very luckily right now. I was calling to make another appointment with him, and Edna, his assistant, said, "Well, he can speak with you at 6:30 a.m. That'll be his second meeting for the day." And I went, "Wait, what?" She goes, "Oh, he's in the office ready to go every day at 6:30." And I said, okay, so now I'm in my office every day, almost ready to go at 6:30. So that's, I try to learn from people who are uber successful. I don't have to be knocked across the head. If Doug Patassi is getting to the office at 6:30 a.m., I certainly should be able to do that as well. So just like with you, Mike, what I've noticed with you as certainly a mentor to me is your expression of gratitude. You're very vulnerable and open with that, and I've tried to add that into my business life as well. So I'm just trying to take the best of the breed and use that authentically at KTG.
Well, you know what? I'm very happy to hear that. Speaking of gratitude, and let's talk about that a little bit because, I've been very grateful and honored to have, worked with a number of people in building out the consortium and, of course, the
Sure.
Executive Connection Summit. You are the poster child for people who come into something, see it, imagine it, and even more importantly than imagining the best possibilities, you're probably the most aggressive, properly aggressive, politely aggressive person who has taken the consortium to the fullest degree of capability. So what is it about you that makes you see things that other people don't see or don't act upon? Probably more importantly.
Well, I mean, I want to do good for the consortium, but givers get. And I have gained a national seat at the party because of the consortium and you that I did not have before. I wasn't talking to a Rick Taylor or a Mike Maruzik like, hey, Mike. And now, I'm at these events like David Ramos and I am flying, in 2 weeks to go take him to lunch because of the consortium. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't take my call nor a meeting with me. So I see the foresight of the more that you interact with the consortium, the more you get. And I've also witnessed some of the members who have not participated other than going to some of the meetings and don't maybe see the advantage of it. Any networking event or group that you're in, it's not that hour every 2 weeks where the value comes. It's all the work in between. And so selfishly, like I like to be at the welcome table at the consortium meeting at the ECS because I get to see everybody. So I get the fact that if I'm there, I'm interacting with folks that I wouldn't have the chance to otherwise. So it really has not only served me, but it's opened up new relationships and hopefully some friendships too for me.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that, and you hit the nail on the head. It's not the hour on the call; it's about the everything before and after that call that you can navigate and create. And I appreciate everything that you're just saying because, I mean, that warms my heart. We pulled this thing together to help float all boats, and it's working, but it's working because of people like you. So applying that thought process, and believe me, you are the poster child for success with the consortium. And when you think about the dealers that you work with or the dealers that you would like to work with, so if you were going to give an elevator pitch to Doug Patassi, or, well, you actually have that one, Doug Albrechts. So what do you want to tell Doug Albrechts about what you can do for him? Just as an example.
I guarantee an increase in profitable market share. Your sales teams will be more skilled and able to handle net new as well as fuller and more robust proposals with their current customers by understanding intimately the industry, their executive title, something about the company, and the guy or woman, and being able to craft that into impactful prospecting pitches that land meetings in 3 decision makers to a yes is what I bring to the table.
So to further that, you've been doing this a while now,
25
and
years.
25 years. So you've gone from, core and traditional copier dealers all the way through COVID and everything else to today. What's the biggest thing you've had to accommodate, as you transition from one group to the next group to the next generation to today? What are you seeing today that you've had to modify yourself?
What I'm witnessing is that the copier rep is a dying breed. The business technology sales executive, the managed service provider is alive and well. And so if you have that box mentality, which I think you and I might know is just the on ramp into the digital highway, it's not the highway. And that's what people are focused on. The customer wants to secure and have access to their intellectual property and data. And when a dealership understands its security and cybersecurity and how AI and cybersecurity insurance is now becoming just like getting life insurance for yourself, and the protocols that have to be in place by different industries to accomplish that goal, I find it fascinating how businesses work with their printing and faxing and archiving and scanning and retrieving. And I think in the olden days, people could just kind of walk in on good looks and charm and talk about a copier lease. Now that's what stops the conversation, not starts it. So I never sold copiers for a living. So I never had the box mentality. And I think, listen, I want to land all clients, but I can't work with a dealership that's trying to sell copiers for a living. I'm just not a fit for them. If they want to understand how the company, their clients work and how technology impacts all avenues, that's where I become interesting, I think, and where I'm interested in.
So, and that's a really great observation. I love what you just said. And you shouldn't be a fit for someone who's just a copier mentality anymore. So what do you see, let's say leading into ECS, what are you going to be doing differently, the rest of this year and planning for, 24? So your expertise has always been extraordinary at the prospecting level and making appointments and closing deals, right? So what's phase 14, going into next year for you? Where are you focused?
So we built another program called Customer Service Excellence. And what that means is I have over 400 different talk tracks and email templates for everyone that touches the client other than the salesperson: contracts, dispatch, customer service, accounts payable and receivable. Those interactions with the clients can be standardized, they can be up leveled in a professional forum. And I figured it all out. And I think that's an important piece. Most of the dealerships that I talk to go, oh, no one's doing that. I'm the only one. Maybe that won't continue to be, but I'm the only one with industry experience and customer service. So like, I know what a waste container, what that needs to do to be refilled on the different machines and what that means to the customer and everything in between. But the next piece of the puzzle for us in 2024 is sales management training, which includes a recruitment quota. Just like salespeople have a quota, managers have been reactionary with their recruiting. And I think that that should be changed to proactive. And so I've spoken at like the Kia Sarah event right before COVID at it, and I'm really learning as much as I can about sales management so that I can convert that to what that means to a business technology or a managed service provider industry, and what a sales management or mentor, which I think is a better word, needs to accomplish to motivate a team of young folks or people in the middle parts of their career in accomplishing the prospecting tasks and current customer care. So that's our next piece.
That's excellent. Is part of your thinking on not just the management training, but on the recruiting side, is part of your logic to? I mean, you got some generational changes there. Is part of your logic actually to go out there and help them recruit, or just to train them to recruit?
So at KTG, we do recruitment support. It's part of our retainer program. I can find all passive clients that wouldn't create a non-compete, that would be located near the branch, that this would be a step up job for. Enterprise car rental, many folks that sell like sporting things for sporting arenas, Verizon. There's a lot of different industries that would funnel right into the culture of a business technology dealership, meaning prospecting is a focus, not afraid to hit the phones in the street, understanding how the product works to the customer. And what I think a sales management team should be doing is having people in the reserve. So if a place opens up, it's not anybody to fill it. They automatically have opportunity to bring, a real candidate. And then, for example, when I was watching TED Talk, so one of the things, Mike, that I have decided as part of my ability to serve is that I learn 6 hours a week. I schedule learning in, whether it's a book, a TED Talk, a webinar. And I think that has been the biggest answer to success for KTG. And part of those things that I've watched is, like, for example, Google, the recruiter for Google is well known, that department, of being just exemplary and forward thinking. And one of his tactics that he talked about was bringing the whole sales team or the department in to that decision making of bringing that team member in. And when you do that in our industry, then you have salespeople interested in the success of the new salesperson, not someone shoved on the team or a competitor, right? And now they're willing to help them. So a team is going after their sales quota with individual success. So the reactionary recruiting needs to end. It needs to be proactive. And I've sort of built the steps along the way that could ensure that, I'm not saying I'm doing it the correct way, but it is a way to go after it, at least with focus and steps. And I think that's what sales management should be accomplishing. Get a great team together. They work together to really accomplish the goals.
I love it. It's absolute. It's a need that's imperative. It's kind of interesting. Just the last few minutes, you're a learner. I mean,
Yeah,
I love that. You grab, Doug Potassi's 6:30 in the morning. You take 6 hours, a week, a day to learn. That's incredible. And now, obviously, you're still getting more and more proactive. So I think the message from we to the audience is never stop learning and
that's right.
applying. So I love that. And when you've been in front of hundreds, I don't know, maybe thousands of some of the more successful dealerships and personnel. When you walk into a room, so Dan Cooper calls you up and says, "Hey, Kate, I need you to run a program in Memphis, and here's 30 people or whatever the number is." When you walk into that room, I envision you to be that observer. How long does it take you for your eyes to assess those two are a problem? These five are going to be great. How long does it take you to, at this point in your career, to go, wow?
First of all, the first thing I do is I'm there first. Like, a lot of people are smarter than me, but you're not going to outwork me and you're not going to be there before me. So I get there early. I see who's early, who's sitting in the front, and then I have a chance to chit chat. And I want to know who the player is, who's like the Larry, the guy that's going to give me a little flack. And then I have to ingratiate myself with them, because there's going to be pushback of having. I just did a training in Texas and they were all men in the room and they were all 55, 60 years old. And they're like, who's this Yankee coming down, gal, trying to tell me what to do? And so you, as a woman in this business, different than man, you have to come on a little lighter, which isn't always easy for me. I'm kind of a assertive gal. and you have to work as their assistant. That's how they want to perceive you. So I say that right away. And then I sort of overwhelm them a little bit on industry knowledge so that they go, okay, I guess she's done this a little bit before. And then I get to start to have them lean in. And so I need to watch the room of where people sit, who's differential. And there's always going to be 2 or 3 players at a dealership that make the most money, and you got to get them in the fold. So you ingratiate yourself. Of course, Larry knows. So when you mention them in a workshop environment, they feel respected. And I think that that's something that I try to get across. But it's the trainer's job to win the group over.
I love what you say. So to the audience, anybody that Kate is about to train, you might want to make sure that you get there early and you communicate, you chit chat with Kate.
I leave you alone if you sit in the front, not the other way around.
There you go. So
That's
tip
right.
number 44, pay attention, guys and gals. Make sure you do what she's saying and get your life straight. So a couple of other quick, more fun things. When you look at the Executive Connection Summit, you've always been a champion for that kind of networking. And when you think about your business pre-consortium or post-consortium, post-ECS, I should say, where have you benefited the most? What did you learn the best? How do you apply it? And what are you thinking about the next one coming up in 24?
There were a couple prior to the last two that I was not invited to because I wasn't at that place in my career yet, which is fair. But when I joined the consortium, I got a ticket to the party, and I got deals done. Doug Patassi ran into me at the event, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to hire you again." So it created the opportunity for me to be in front of them. And then I don't want anyone else to do it, but I always give stuff to the rooms, right? To anybody that I've worked with and anyone I'm going after, I send something to the room. And even though that might cost me $30 or $40 a person, that has been a very large hit for me because they come up to me and say thank you. Right. And I'm like, oh, please, no big deal. And that has been a very big hit for me. So I've had the opportunity to get in the room with folks that I wouldn't have before. And also I felt very comfortable as much as I am on a stage. I'm not great in the bar, right? Where you have to sort of walk up to individuals. I'm better in a group. Like I could speak at the Super Bowl, no problem. But that individual makes me a little bit nervous. I know it seems weird, but it's true. So because I was a member of the consortium, I had that comfort, and we were all hanging out, and it wasn't a show, it was a summit. And I don't think maybe some dealerships realize that it's not a vendor show. It's really about collaboration. Nobody's competing for time there or trying to walk up, to strangers with the little polo shirts going, let me give you something. It was really about exchanging ideas. And I felt very comfortable there. And I saw all the dealerships really learning. And then last year, I volunteered to do something called Tangible Takeaways, which was a Rick Taylor idea. And that got me in front of every speaker and talking to them. And, I got to speak to every one of the speakers. Mike Reardon wrote me a thank you email from my Tangible. I never spoke to him before. Even though we share 40% of our clients. I mean, he's such to hear him speak, I would have paid to come and just done that. It was so inspiring, and what a wonderful, nice guy, let alone a leader in our industry.
Absolutely. So a little bit of fun. What do you do for hobbies besides learning?
Well, every morning I also sing because I'm a singer. And so I sing in the morning to warm my voice up and get excited for the training. I'm very passionate. I have 2 kids who one is trying to be a musician in New York City and actually making a living at it. And he said, I'm really interested in the business side of music, which is exactly what I did. I was interested in business, but I'd always been an actor. So I got myself a internship at a casting director's office. And they'd never had one before that. So I was making my own opportunities. And now I see my son do that. And that's just an amazing thing. And then I'm married to a pretty great guy. And I have a very happy marriage. I know everybody doesn't get that gift in life. And so that's something that I try to spend a lot of time on with too.
Yeah, I love your husband. He's awesome. He is fun.
He's like the darling of our industry. Wherever we go, people are like, is Rob here? And I'm like, yeah, he's here. So he's been a great advantage for me too in business. He'll walk up to anybody.
Yeah, occasionally I see you and I think, where is Rob?
I know.
So
He
can't be
is my
far
better
behind.
half.
So, given the fact that you sing every day,
Yeah.
and obviously I'm going to ask you about Sinatra. So, do you have a favorite Sinatra song?
Well, the last time you asked me, I said Blue Moon, but this time I'm going to say The Way You Look Tonight. But I have a question for you. Why do you love Sinatra so much?
Uh, well, that's a great question, and actually, I love all genres of movie or
Yeah.
of music, but I especially like that era. And my father sang in big bands,
Hey, I
so
did not know that.
yeah. So he had to make a choice. He went, obviously he was in World War II. After World War II, he and my mother got married, and so he had to make a decision about a meaningful job and music. He tried to do both for a long time. He sang with some of the best bands, really, in the country, in the world, back in the day, and he gave it up for a lot of time. But he set up a studio. We did, we grew up in a three flat in Chicago, but he set up this little room that I was amazed about, when I got to be my teen years, that it was kind of like the first version of karaoke, so
Yeah.
he would sing in that room and we would all listen. And he really liked Tony Bennett and Sinatra. And so I just listened to it. I would sing with him every once in a while, and he was outstanding. But I really came to appreciate the nuance, the lyric, the writing of the music, the way he would deliver a lyric. And his favorite, of course, was Sinatra. So I got to learn pretty much every song, every Sinatra song. And the other part was, how he sang still in live bands and how he sang to my mother. So that's pretty much how I learned. It's great, great way to grow up. So your new song is
The
the.
Way You Look Tonight.
So you
So,
want to hit a couple of chords?
no, I don't. But I really do love big band songs. I was not allowed to watch TV. It was very regulated growing up, only 1 hour a week. But my mother had every record. So we were raised listening to all that and the Brat Pack, the original
Oh yeah,
Brat
yeah.
Pack. And so we listened to all of that types of music, and that was unlimited. We could listen to music whenever we want. So I was really raised on that sort of era too. And I love his story, right? I love the mafia connections, and I love all of it. I think he lived a very interesting celebrity life, and good for him. So
Yeah, that he did, and frankly, all of those guys,
yes,
victim,
all of them.
all of them had some kind of interesting.
Dean Martin, I mean, right? When he would be on Johnny Carson, he would be drunk and having a fabulous time. I love Dean Martin too.
Yeah. So, and that actually, it's kind of interesting how I kind of view my life on a daily basis with some kind of rhythm. So, I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Today it's going to be Bob Seger. Tomorrow it's going to be something, something Sinatra to get a cadence, to keep you active and thinking, hey,
Yeah.
country and Western is good, but today it's going to be Dean Martin, right?
Hmm.
And I think it sets your tone. It's like you sing, it sets my
That's
mentality.
my day. Hmm.
It starts my day. So, a couple other quick questions before we turn the corner here. So, Kate, you've been, and I mean this sincerely, you've been a absolute stellar contributor to not just the consortium, but the industry at large. And I always see you, and I hope I want to encourage you with this question. I see you as having so much more to offer from a world stage. One of the things I always encourage you about is become a speaker. Get on the
That's my
world
favorite
stage.
thing to do.
So, how are we going to encourage this audience to see you as more than just someone hugely successful in the areas you're at, but to get on that stage, hire you to motivate and inspire?
I
You want
think
to
if
do
you
that?
I do want to do that. I think that if for example, Impact Networking, I worked with them a couple of years ago. They have I just went to it once. They have an amazing yearly meeting where they bring in interesting speakers and have all their different solutions out. It's quite an amazing event. Those type of events where you're getting a whole group together to talk about really what our job is, which is to take down new opportunity, serve our customers, but really bring new customers in. I feel that I have something to offer at that kind of keynote speaking available. I'm working on getting into a speaker bureau, and 2024 is also when my book will be finished. So I need a ghostwriter editor to put together, but I have thousands of pages of content that I've created. I like to do a sales tip every week to about 10,000 of the people in our industry. Hopefully some of the people listening to this might get it, with a real idea each week. So I feel that in this, being a speaker, I've been told many times you need the book. So I'm trying to get the book done while serving all my clients. And I think that that will help prompt that opportunity.
Well, to the audience, there's your invitation to reach out to Kate
Come at
and
me.
invite her to be a keynote speaker or speaker at your next event. I think you absolutely would be served well. So, as we close, final question: what advice do you give to the audience? What advice do you give to our industry and the dealer community in particular? What are the few things that you would say, guys, gals, you need to do this?
Yeah. So the biggest hole that I see in sales executive is their calendarization. You calendarize for the income you want. Maybe you dress for success, but you calendarize for the income. And if any sales management or leader just goes and pulls the calendar of your sales executives right now, 90% of them will have holes more than filled. And I believe in filling in every half hour of your 8 to 10 hour day, because without that, you're not accomplishing if it's not written down. And every outlier that I watch, the Mark Cubans, Richard Brandt, it doesn't matter who it is, they all talk about their time. And time management and calendarization with the check-in by sales managers on Friday will change the face of your sales folks' careers. And the other little point I'll make is a sales executive in business technologies work week starts Friday afternoon. You got to be running Monday morning. You got to be beating people like me who already have the account. So you've got to come at them ready to go Monday morning. And an hour on the weekend is like 4 hours during the work week. I work 6 days a week. That's my choice. But an hour on the weekend of uninterrupted time of learning or looking at your calendar for next week or focusing on, that what you need to get accomplished really will change your tax bracket. And usually that's what sales folks are in their career for, serving their customer, but also making a lot of money. And there's a lot of money to be made in this industry if you focus on all your selling suites and understand how your customer will use it. So that would be, the soundbite, I guess, of what I would want a sales executive to do to make the quickest change in their income.
I love it. What a great way to end this particular podcast. The show was fantastic. I've learned a lot again, as I would have expected from you. It's funny. Jenna and I used to go back and forth when she was a kid growing up. And I would tell her, look, some people are the package. Some people have the it factor and they may not know it. They may need a mentor or some kind of leader to pull it out of them. But you definitely have the it factor. You are the package. And honestly, everyone that's listening, I hope you appreciate the fact that you just got probably a doctorate degree from someone who really delivered some great content. So from all of the industry to Kate, from me to Kate, we thank you for joining us today. And we're going to make sure that ECS is going to be awesome. So
I'll
thank you,
see you
Kate.
there. Thanks, everybody.